Good evening. Welcome, everyone. I'm Bill Maley, Brighton Town Supervisor. Pleased to have you here at tonight's August 28th, 2024 meeting of the Brighton Town Board. In a minute, we'll begin the open forum portion of our meeting. The open forum is the opportunity for members of the public to share comments with the town board. We'll get in a little more detail into the particulars and the instructions as it relates to the open forum when we get to that part of the agenda. If you are watching us remotely and you want to speak either in the open forum or during one of our two public hearings tonight, we do have two public hearings. We'll talk about those a little bit more in a minute as well. But you'll need to log into Zoom in order to speak during the open forum. We do have instructions for doing that on the town's webpage, which is at www.townofbrighton.org. As we have done for many years, we make all of our town board meetings accessible to the deaf and hard of hearing community with ASL interpreters. And tonight, Michael Fisher and Samantha Geffen are our interpreters. Michael, Samantha, thank you both very much. The agenda for tonight's meeting, if you're here in the room, is on the back table, along with all of the material that we are relying on in making our decisions tonight. All of that information is also available on the Town of Brighton webpage. If you're able to rise, I would ask that you do so in spirit. If you are not, we'll start with a pledge. I'll ask Councilmember Wilt to lead us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. There she is. There she is.
Perfect. I will sign that so you can present it.
I'll ask you to come join me at the podium. September is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. Childhood cancer is one of the leading causes of death for children and adolescents in the United States. Childhood Cancer Awareness Month is an opportunity, obviously from the name, to raise awareness of the impact of childhood cancer. But it's also a time to celebrate those who are engaged in research, in treatment, and in support of families facing childhood cancer in so many ways. And tonight, we issue this proclamation from the town board recognizing Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. We recognize two volunteers, Lynn and Randy Stiefler, and their organization, Cure Bears for Hope and Love. And you want to talk about grassroots. You want to talk people who have put their heart and soul into working with families with childhood cancer. You have done it. I think we first met at an event you were doing, I think, over at Rita's quite a few years ago. Yes. And I've seen all the work that you've done in so many ways. I have no idea how many bears you have given out. I bet you do know. So I'm going to read this proclamation recognizing the work that Lynn and Randy do and Cure Bears for Hope and Love do throughout the Rochester area, including here in Brighton. Whereas cancer is the leading cause of death by disease for children in America, with approximately 40,000 children in active treatment at any given time. Whereas globally, more than 400,000 children are diagnosed with cancer each year, and 80% of them reside within developing countries. Whereas in those developing countries, the 5-year survival rate for children with cancer is just 7.4%, compared to the rate in wealthier nations like the United States, where the survival rate is nearly 80%. And whereas, while there have been great strides in cancer research and treatment over the last 60 years, it is important to know that 1 in 285 Americans will be diagnosed with cancer before their 20th birthday. Before their 20th birthday. And that 2/3 of the survivors will suffer from chronic health problems even after treatment. Whereas providing support to the children and their families struggling with cancer helps them muster the strength to tackle another day, locally, Cure Bears for Hope and Love provides exactly that support by donating bears and dolls to children undergoing treatment and continuing to raise awareness of childhood cancer and its devastating impacts. And those impacts are not only on the children, but their entire families. Now therefore be it proclaimed that I, William W. Maley, Brighton Town Supervisor, and all of the members of the Brighton Town Board do hereby recognize September as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month and remind others that even small gestures of kindness can make a child with cancer feel more cared for and less alone. This proclamation is signed this 28th day of August, 2024, by myself and by my 4 colleagues here on the town board. Thank you. Thank you for all you do. I'm proud to present this to you. We'll have a little photo op here. Thank you, Randy. And I think Bridget will get a photo too. Yeah, we got to get you in there, Randy. And Lynn, the floor is yours.
I'm not good at speaking, which is a good thing on your part, but I want to thank Bill and the rest of the town board for recognizing Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. And during the month of September, you know, gold is the color for Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, and, you know, tie a gold ribbon around your mailbox or do something to recognize these kids, because once you've been touched by a child that's gone through cancer, you're never the same. And I can say that because I was a pediatric oncology nurse for 29 and a half years before I retired. And this is what I do in retirement. Randy just gets dragged along. But I just want to, you know, thank, because these kids truly are remarkable, and they go through treatment with a smile on their face, and this is one way to bring a smile on to their faces. So I want to thank you.
Thank you so much.
I probably have sent over, the bears do go throughout the whole country, and we started in September of 2013, and there's been over probably about 3,500 bears sent throughout the country.
That's wonderful.
So.
And a lot more to come, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, we will now begin the open forum portion of our meeting. We hold our open forum at the beginning of every town board meeting to communicate with the community and hear your thoughts every 2 weeks as we hold these meetings. It's an opportunity for members of the public to address the board about any matter relating to the town, whether or not it's an item on our agenda tonight. If you are here, though, for one of the 2 public hearings tonight, we have the continuation of the public hearing on the incentive zoning and rezoning application by Home Leasing for the proposed affordable housing project on Elmwood Avenue near the site, the former Psych Center property. Or if you're here for the continuation of the public hearing on the proposed demolition of property located at 185 Kimbark Road due to the unsafe condition of that property, I would encourage you to wait until those public hearings are opened and your comments can be included in the record of those public hearings. If you'd like to speak during the open forum and you're here in person, please raise your hand. When I call on you, please come to the podium to speak. I would ask that you give your name and address. If you are participating in the meeting remotely, you must first join the meeting on Zoom. Spoke about that a moment ago. And there are directions for doing that on the town webpage. Again, I mentioned, but whether you're here in person or on Zoom, if you'd like to speak during the open forum, I do ask that you give your name and address. Please limit your remarks to 3 minutes, and I will give you a 30-second warning before your time expires. If you have questions, we may not be able to answer your questions tonight, particularly if it relates to a matter that's not on the agenda this evening. But our goal tonight, and really our goal at every time we hold this open forum before every town board meeting, is to give yourselves an opportunity to share your thoughts with the town board and for us to be able to listen thoughtfully to your words. Therefore, I would ask that you please direct your remarks to the town board and not to the room or to other speakers. Please refrain from personal attacks or from outbursts of any kind, including applause, boos, or any similar disruption during the open forum, out of respect for the speakers and out of respect for the time of everybody that's here tonight. Out of respect, again, for those who might not be able to see, if there are signs held up, we do not allow signs to be held in the room during town board meetings, including during the open forum. We'll warn you if you don't follow those rules. Repeated failure to follow those rules or failure to follow other directions from the chair may result in your speaking privileges during the open forum being ended early, or even the early termination of the open forum. So with that, we will begin the open forum, and I would ask if there is anybody that would like to speak to the town board. And former council member Norris, I gave you the opportunity to speak first at the last meeting, and I will do so again tonight.
Good evening. My name is Louise Noveros, and I live at 116 Seminole Way in Brighton. Since I spoke to you at the last town board meeting 2 weeks ago, I have been assured by the town supervisor that no trees will be cut down on the grassy field behind Town Hall, and nor will there be any banked parking spaces installed on in that area.
Let me just clarify, there's space shown on the current plans for banked parking for some time in the future, but we are not going to build it at this time, and honestly, for myself, I can't imagine supporting parking in that spot.
Okay, thank you. This was extremely good news to all of us. Regarding another one of our major concerns, however, we are vehemently opposed to having our town pool demolished and having a splash park or splash pad, whichever you want to call it, constructed in its place. At last count, Brightonians have signed a petition on change.org. Indicating their opposition to this, and I understand more signatures are still being added. And I also understand that you all were sent a copy of this. We urge you to read the petition and reconsider your plan to get rid of the pool. I want to mention one more time, I think I mentioned it last time, when Jim Vogel was on the town board, he and I approached the people from DeMarco and asked them if they could help us revamp the pool area, because even back then, which I don't know, it was 5 years ago or 6 years ago, it needed work. And they went out there with us, and they looked at everything, and they said yes, they would do it, and they would do it for free. And that they would revamp the pool, they would fix up the bathrooms, redo the lifeguard station, and they were also willing to buy 4 or 5 round tables with the benches attached and with umbrellas. That was one of the main reasons that the pool wasn't always full, is because there was no place for the parents to sit when they brought their young children to the pool, and there was no shade. this is just the beginning of what the neighbors are up to. We are studying the petition. We are studying what it means to have a splash pad, what is involved with a splash pad, and we don't like what we see. We don't like what we read. Tonight we will be stressing the reasons why we do not want our pool to disappear and why we do not want a splash pad installed in its place. A lot of research has gone into this effort on our part, and I hope you will listen with open minds and grant our wishes and take it all very seriously because we mean business. Thank you.
Louise, was that in connection with, you mentioned conversations that you and former council member, our late friend Jim Vogel, was that in connection with the incentive zoning proposal?
Well, we came into town hall and 3 or 4 of them were waiting to see you about, I think they were doing sidewalks at the time in Brighton. I'm not sure why they were here. And we just asked them, we told them the problem we were having and that it was going to be costly and that sometimes corporations help out towns or villages or whatever. So they said, sure, they'd like to see what it was. And they went with us to the pool. And they looked all around, and they offered to do all these things. And you and Becky said no. And I said, why not? And you said, well, because they're going to be putting new umbrellas up, and people will fiddle with umbrellas, and they'll break them. I said, so you buy a new umbrella. That's the least of your problems. And you absolutely squashed it. And since then, the pool has gotten worse, and nobody wants to do anything but destroy it. It just doesn't make sense. Is that what we were asking me?
Well, I was, I'll take that at face value. Thank you.
Okay.
Is there anyone else that would like to address the board tonight? Yes.
Good evening. My name is Catherine Zaromskis, and I live at 114 Monroe Parkway. I am part of a group of Brighton citizens who are deeply concerned about the town's initiative to demolish our town pool and replace it with a splash pad. Many of us are here tonight, but there are many more who have shown their support by signing our change.org petition. In brief, that petition asks for the following. 1, a public input process allowing users of the town pool to have their voices heard. 2, a public study of pool usage and a presentation of viable options for a renovated pool. 3, an opportunity to seek funding for better water recreation opportunities in Brighton. 4, a 1-year reprieve on the closure of the pool to provide the opportunity to revisit the decision-making process. And 5, overall improved communication between the town leaders and residents. The petition was first posted on July 28th, and we currently have over 900 signatures. In addition to putting down their name, many of the signatories left comments, and I would like to summarize and quote a few of them here to represent the range of concerns our citizens have about this plan. Many signatories expressed their love for the pool, describing it as a necessity, quote, an important asset to the community that has served generations of Brighton citizens, and one that provides, quote, a fun, social, and healthful activity for all ages and abilities, and makes swimming accessible to all families of varying income levels. A few noted that with, quote, global warming making summer hotter, the pool has become more necessary and, quote, a sprinkle spray thing just won't do. While others pointed to the importance of swimming as a skill and the dearth of, quote, places where we can go to practice those skills. Many signatories took particular issue with the lack of transparency in this initiative, stating, quote, I thought I missed the public comment period. I am dismayed to find that there really wasn't one, end quote. And, quote, this is not a decision for you, Supervisor Maley, and the council to make. You need to include the community, end quote. And finally, quote, the Brighton Town Council is not at all acting in the interests of the community, end quote. I believe this petition and these comments make clear that the citizens of Brighton do not see this as a trivial matter. So I'll close with one more comment written by Jean Baker, who writes, quote, "I'm signing because years of summer at the pool. I'm signing because floating on your back for so long you get a sunburn on your belly and your face. I'm signing because this is a place where time pauses and children smile. Please keep this wonderful location open for decades to come. Please save the public pool. Thank you."
Thank you. And if you'd like to submit written comments to the clerk, feel free. I just want to say a couple things. One, it's really important to stress here. There are no final decisions that have been made. And I can understand those of you that read my article in the Brighton Connections magazine, which is a private magazine, that's not the town's magazine. But probably my words made it sound like, you know, everything's done and set and decided. Someone asked about why didn't, you know, when did you issue bids or anything? We have not. We have not issued bids. This is, you know, this is honestly, this is part of the process, part of the process of sharing the information in that article, sharing the reasons why many people believe that splash pads offer some significant advantages, but that doesn't mean the town board isn't here to listen to you and to, you know, make some serious decisions about what the future will be. So I just want to make that as clear as I possibly can, that this is not a final decision that has been made. The town board would have to take a number of actions in order to begin construction on that. And I think, you know, you mentioned one of the things in the petition there, a one-year reprieve. As you know, we have a significant, everybody that comes into this room knows why we have a major renovation project coming here at Town Hall. We are doing a major project driven by the age of the building and the HVAC system. We are going to be installing a geothermal system here at Town Hall. It will be a much more sustainable, consistent with our climate action plan and all of our many sustainability activities. That and the other construction activities on site are going to impact traffic flow, parking, et cetera. At this point, I think it's very possible that the pool, splash pad, whatever is out there, I'll call it the pool for these purposes, may well not be open next year because of the ongoing construction. You know, kids and traffic and construction work are probably not a good fit. That's not a final decision that has been made, but it's one that we're acutely aware of, and we're also working to look at potential alternatives. So I just want to clarify the most important part of that message, though, is that a final decision on this matter has not been made yet. Yes, go ahead. If you can come up to the podium, please. No, you have to come up to the podium because that is where, I mean, we have the live stream audience, et cetera. They can only hear you if you come up to the podium.
It's okay. It's fine.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. I think we were operating under statements that you had made that this splash pad would be open on the first 80-degree day in 2025. So the idea that neither of them might not be open, this is different information than what we've been given in the past.
And I understand that. And I think I was generically speaking about one of the advantages of a splash pad is the longer season and the fact that because it is user operated, it can be opened much earlier in the season. So when we get those 80-degree spring days, they can be used. You know, we are working very hard with our design team on this town hall project. And we are very concerned as to whether it would be advisable to have those kind of recreation activities here while there is construction going on at the same time. So I can't say one way or the other definitively.
Sure, I
I
understand
think,
that. Okay.
again, I want to be as,
It was the timing that I was questioning.
Sure.
It sounded like it was a done deal, and I think that's why we expected it, because we were being told the construction.
and
And if
very
there's-
honestly, I can understand why you would feel that way.
Okay.
But I want to make it clear that there is a process. We will conduct that process, and as with everything that we do, it will be an open, transparent process. Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to address the board? I know Ms. Feibusch, you had indicated a desire to submit a petition. Is there anybody? Yes, go ahead. Come on up.
My name is Lisa Feibusch. I live at 92 Bonnie Bray Avenue in the Roselawn neighborhood. And I emailed the petition and the comments and a spreadsheet, which is the way it is downloaded from change.org, of all the signatures to the supervisor and town board tonight. When I emailed it, we were closing in on 1,000 signatures. We moved to the neighborhood 25 years ago, and we have been fans of the town pool since then. We have regularly used it. When there was a season pass available, we bought a season pass, and one of our first frustrations was when that was no longer available. We were regular purchasers of that, and it's not that we wouldn't pay every time, but it was very nice just to be able to commit to the season and have that. We also thought it was actually an infusion of some money into the rec department. The town has actually made the claim that the number of pool users have dropped, but I was very surprised to find out that the pool is hidden on the town website. I can't say whether it's deliberate or an oversight, but you do not know there's a town pool if you do not know to look for the town pool, which is absurd. It's not listed on the Parks and Recreation page. The only way I was able to find it was when I went to the search bar and I typed the word pool. When you get to the page that has the pool on it, it's not dedicated to the pool, it's just general town listings. At the moment, it says nothing but closed for the season. It doesn't say anything about future plans. It doesn't say anything about inquiries into the pool. It doesn't say what the general hours are when it is open. That's still a nice thing to have year round, because even if you know you can't use it, it's good to plan. I promised that nobody would look at it's open from June through August or whatever and think, oh, I can go over right now, but they can keep it in mind for the future. Now, the other thing I was very surprised to find out about is that when we've been talking about trying to save the pool, I discovered a lot of Brighton residents were not aware of its existence at all. When they found out there was a pool, they were very happy. When they found out there was a pool right behind the library that they could walk to in large parts or park at the library and go to it, they were delighted. When I said anyone who wants to use it just has to pay the fee and then they can come in, they were ecstatic. There was so much happiness around this pool. And I need to note that outdoor pools have really become an endangered species. There used to be a lot more town pools, a lot more recreational programs, a lot more swim clubs for neighborhoods. Most of those have gone. Not only do gyms not replace that due to cost and accessibility, not everybody can afford a gym, but not every gym has a pool. Most of the gyms that have pools have indoor pools, which is not the same vibe as an outdoor pool. This is a really important resource that can make Brighton unique, that other towns do not have, but we can. The town has claimed that the pool repairs are too costly, but first of all, the pool is not supposed to be a for-profit endeavor. And secondly, there are a lot of different things that we can do to offset the cost of the pool. Seasonal membership passes, swimming lessons,
30 seconds.
aquatic classes, other promotions. So I need to emphasize that We're not promoting the pool, therefore it's not generating revenue. And finally, anything we do, there has to be a public hearing about this. Thank you. And I'm going to submit the petition and the comments.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to address the board? Either one of you there? I'm going to go right across. I saw 3 hands there, so.
Yeah, we're all back there. Thank you, Bill and council members. I appreciate your willingness to listen, and I hope this is the beginning of some more open dialogue
If you
amongst
would
us.
state your name and address,
I'm
please.
Iris Beery. I live at 215 Roosevelt Road.
I know
Thank
that,
you.
but not everybody does.
Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. But I do appreciate your willingness to listen. This is a really important part of local municipal government, and I appreciate that and the opportunity to speak. My family loves the pool. We go all the time. I have 2 little kids, and it's not because this particular pool is amazing, but because it's affordable, it's outdoors, it's biking distance from my home, and it's in our community. It's part of Brighton, and so are we. There are a few main things about the possible closing of a pool that concern me, not just because I use it, but bear with me. Pools teach kids how to swim, and they prevent drowning, which is a leading cause of death among young children. It's a public health concern. There is a real opportunity to fund pool renovation with NY Swims that was recently passed by the governor. Governor Hochul said access to swimming isn't just about recreation, it is about public health and climate resiliency. Which brings me to my next point. We have to consider climate change. It is real, it is among us. Splash Pad would also address this. I'm for plus splash pad and a pool. I don't think that they have to be mutually exclusive. But our summers are getting hotter and longer, and we just had a cool sweep yesterday, and we have to consider how we're gonna have access for our residents to cool down in Brighton. Pools are also third places. Bear with me, I'm a sociology major. They are not a first place, which is your home, or your second place, which is your place of work, but it is third place that fosters interaction, civic engagement among people of all ages, races, and backgrounds. There are so many benefits investing in their spaces in our community to promote civic dialogue, community engagement, and combat loneliness, which we all know is on the rise. Public third places are crucial to lower the barriers of entry to these critical spaces, which brings me to my next point, which is racism and racial segregation. There is a history of the closing of municipal pools around our country. Ms. Flybush discussed the closing of municipal pools. Actually, it's discussed by Heather McGee, who wrote a book called The Sum of Us, and she discusses racial segregation in the 1960s, the closing of municipal pools. A lot of white residents preferred to close their municipal pools and build backyard pools and have private clubs rather than engage with desegregating the public pools. So I encourage everyone to look up Heather McGee's book. It's excellent. She also spoke in Rochester last year.
30 seconds.
So while that timeline might not apply here, it does apply to fighting racial equity. So my final question to you is, what type of Brighton do we want to be? What kind of community do we want to live in? And for me, the question is, do we want to contribute to the already stark inequities in our region and be a suburb where people retreat to their exclusive member-only clubs and private backyard pools? Or do we want to be a community that invests in third places in public goods and that are inclusive, promote racial equity, and where all Brightonians and others who can also be welcome can gather and engage with each other? And that is the question also before us. It is a moral one. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much. I'm Catherine Deviney. I live at 281 Willowbend, and I'm sent on behalf of my daughter, Zelda Mead, who also lives at 281 Willowbend. She's 7. This is past her bedtime, and she was very happy for me to come over because she also loves the pool. She wants me to tell you that...
I hope she's watching.
Yeah. No screen time before bed.
Okay. I get it.
That's a lie, but no town board meetings, she gets too riled up. So anyway, Passing the deep end test last year was like the highlight of her summer. She was so happy. And to Iris's point about third places, I don't just think about Zelda as a 7-year-old. I think about Zelda as like a 12 or 13-year-old. She was very happy to go to a Brighton Recreation camp today. Had a great time. Michelle is like the best. She's the best. And she's going to age out of those camps. She's not going to be old enough to work for a while. Where's she going to go? She doesn't have a lot of places to go. She's already too old for some of the playgrounds. She loves the pool. We could bike to the pool. So the more places in Brighton where she can go to spend her time with her friends, she's already met friends at the pool. I see lots of people, lots of kids congregating. I see lots of adults congregating at the pool. It's a good place to hang out. So I think that we need to also think about the kids in that age group, that age range, who are not going to use a splash pad, who are going to love the pool. I think what Iris said is absolutely right on, but considering those needs as well. So thank you for the opportunity.
Yes. Go ahead, Rachel.
Hi, my name is Rachel Rosner. I live on Brandywine Lane. I'm also here to speak about the pool, but with a little bit of a different bent. Billy, you made reference to transparency in the process, and I think that most of the people in this room are here because of the lack of transparency that has been in this process from the beginning. How many thousands and thousands of dollars were paid to SWBR and the 3 other private firms to conduct that recreation study? You know, the one that was presented to the public on July 21st, 2022, more than 2 years. And no action has been taken on the results of that study. In fact, it has been so long that I believe the family jubilee option no longer exists. The option to rent space from the JCC would cost taxpayers an average of $131 per year. Building a brand new recreation center at Buckland Park would cost each household about $157 per year. That is a difference of $26 per year. This is a no-brainer. But here we are, 2 years later. Some people on this dais don't want to disappoint certain powerful allies by rejecting the JCC option so that we can have a facility that exactly and specifically meets the needs of Brighton's residents. One owned by the town so that we don't have the rug pulled out from under us again like we did with Brookside School. The intentional lack of transparency and the political games being paid at our expense is shameful. And now the plans for the town hall renovations include getting rid of the outdoor pool and replacing it with a splash pad, maybe. 47% of residents in that survey said they wanted an outdoor pool, 47%. For the town not to even reference that study as a part of the planning process for these renovations is poor leadership and fiscal malfeasance. Not to mention the demolition of the playground and pavilion with no plans in place to rebuild them. The idea that Brighton's elected officials see the, and this is a quote from the Brighton Town's website for one of the town board members and whose bio has mysteriously disappeared, that you see the importance of seeking input from the community before making decisions is laughable, and we deserve better. The excuses that we have heard make absolutely no sense. Every week, every 2 weeks, every time we ask a question, we get a different answer. Oh no, that's not the answer, this is the answer, and we are better than that.
I need to correct, in particular, one of your misstatements, because you claim that there is a plan to demolish the playground here without any plan to do anything else. And that is just patently not accurate. Let me clarify exactly what the town is doing and what it plans to do going forward. We have a number of playgrounds throughout the town that are owned by the town, not playgrounds that are owned by the school districts, but owned by the town. And over the last several years, we have been in the process, because they are aging out, of replacing those playgrounds with new playgrounds. In fact, this year we completed the replacement of the second one of those playgrounds at the town park on Westfall Road. The next oldest playground is the playground here at Town Hall. And you are correct, it is our plan. You're only correct to the extent that it is the next on the list. And it is the next playground that we will be replacing with a newer playground. We look to partner with another organization. One of our commitments, and one of the reasons that a splash pad is very attractive, I think discussion of equity is very important, and equity to people with mobility issues and other disabilities.
I'm sorry, that's the most ableist thing I have ever heard.
Mrs. Rosner, I have the microphone. I'd like to continue speaking. I gave you the opportunity to speak. Splash pads are accessible to people in a way that swimming pools can only be made accessible with some significant add-ons. But let me get back to the playground, because the playground here at Town Hall will be replaced with a newer playground. That is the plan. We've talked about it repeatedly, that we will replace all of our playgrounds, all of our town-owned playgrounds over the next several years, because they are aging out. So I wanted to make it very clear that we will not take out and not replace a playground here at Town Hall. Is there anyone else that would like to speak during? Yes.
Hi, my name is Shalawaz. I live at 130 St. Regis Drive North. Thank you so much for listening to, again, our concerns about I'm going to talk about the town pool again, hopefully from a different spin, but I'm a family physician. I practice primary care in our community. I'm a parent of 2 young kids who started when they were really teeny, and now they're 7 and 10. And I consider myself a really proud Brighton resident. I really love living here. When I heard that the Brighton Town Pool was closing, it definitely brought up a lot of emotions. I was definitely the person who was always trying to whisper in your ear when you came around, can we make the town pool a little bit better? Can we just, can we spruce it up a little bit? Because it's a great resource. I just thought it could always be made a little bit better for people. So I felt a lot of disappointment when I heard that it was closing, both for my kids and for the community. And I was reminded a little bit of why we came to Brighton. So we moved back here for medical residency from Boston. And I remember taking my 1.5-year-old to the library, and then to the playground, and then to the field, and then to the pool. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is where I want to live. If I could pick that house right behind the pool to live in, that's the house I wanted to live in. Because I thought, oh my gosh, you can walk, you can bike, you have all these resources. We came from the Boston area, you could walk everywhere. They had beautiful municipal pools that I would enjoy in the summer heat. So that's why we picked Brighton. We bought a house here. We've lived here since then. And so again, and I just wanted to speak to, again, that the municipal pools that they had in Newton and Cambridge, Massachusetts, where I lived, beautiful. I mean, all the residents loved them and used them a lot. I also wanted to speak to, in my work, I believe that exercise is the most important intervention that any person could do for their health. Swimming benefits many ages and abilities. Providing accessible community facilities can enhance health equity, reducing barriers to physical activity, and allowing everyone to kind of achieve better health, which I talk about on a daily basis. Just this spring, I just came across in the British Medical Journal, they were talking about the role of physicians in advocating for aquatics for public health. And I thought that was really timely. So because it improves physical health, mental health, promotes water safety, and that in England, like in the US, that they're noticing that all the public pools are closing. They lost 400 public pools in the last 14 years. So it was a really timely thing, and they were asking physicians to really step up and say how important this is for public health, and that we should speak more about this. So again, I would just encourage the town to reconsider the decision, which again, it sounds like it's certainly in flux, to close the town pool. a decision that didn't seem to really bring up a lot of community input, and that I would really encourage the community's health and wellness to be part of that cost-benefit analysis when you do that. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to address the board? Go ahead.
Hello, I am Eli Feibush. I live at 92 Bonnie Bray Avenue. And I just wanted to express my concern about having the pool removed, not just on my behalf, but on the behalf of some of my friends at Brighton High School. It's a great place to hang out in the summer and just unwind, and a splash pad wouldn't do the same, it wouldn't be as, it's more for younger kids. And I also, not as a hit, but I sent an email to Mr. Maley and I'd never got a response. And I just think the pool's a very valuable resource for me and my friends, and it would be a shame to see it go away. Thank you.
And I apologize if I didn't get back to you. I will look for your email and do that. Is there anyone? Yes.
My name is Lauren Macy. I live at 56 Oak Lane. I stand before you today to clarify and challenge some recent claims made by our town supervisor regarding our community's pool and the proposed splash pad. Additionally, I want to address the concerns surrounding the pool's maintenance, costs, and funding. First, it was just suggested that the splash pad is better suited for people with mobility issues. I'd like to explain why a pool can often be more beneficial for individuals facing such challenges. One, we can add a lift. I will donate it. It's under $5,000. I've already looked it up. Pools provide a controlled environment with features like handrails, which are specifically designed to assist those with the mobility difficulties. The buoyancy of water reduces pressure on joints and muscles, making it an ideal setting for both exercise and therapy. It's also important to note that elderly individuals who often have mobility issues would find limited use in a splash pad, but can clearly benefit from the therapeutic effects of the pool. Furthermore, the constant spraying in a splash pad can be overwhelming for those with sensory issues, adding another layer of concern. While splash pads are undoubtedly fun and cooling for little kids, they lack the comprehensive benefits that a pool provides. Pools are essential for exercise, physical fitness, wellness, and they also serve as vital venues for learn to swim and safety programs, preventing drownings, a concern that unfortunately affects communities across the state. Now let's address the issue of the pool's maintenance and costs. Recent statements have suggested that the necessary repairs for the pool are excessively expensive. However, we have not been provided with detailed bids or clear cost breakdown. Moreover, the town has not fully explored alternative funding options such as grants, donations, or even community fundraising for it. Notably, the New York State Swims Initiative offers significant funding to support municipal pools, an opportunity that we just missed this year, but we could pursue it next year. There's also been a claim that the pool is underutilized. This issue, however, is likely due to the lack of aquatic programs offered to the community and the limited promotion of the pool hours and activities on the town's website. We used to have an aquatics director. Unfortunately, the position was terminated at the start of the pandemic and never was reinstated. The loss of this role has led to a decline in programming and community engagement, resulting in decreased pool usage, which raises a question: why hasn't the town rehired that crucial position? In summary, a well-maintained pool offers significant benefits, especially for individuals with mobility issues, and it enriches the overall community experience. While the idea of a splash pad has been met with some enthusiasm, this support wanes significantly when it's presented as an alternative to our beloved pool. This community's reaction to the potential demolition of the pool has been one of shock and strong opposition.
30
It is
seconds.
crucial that we must not overlook potential funding opportunities. We must explore all available options, including applying for grants and reconsidering past practices to ensure that our community retains access to this valuable resource. The residents of Brighton deserve a voice in deciding the future of our town's amenities. With proper promotion and support, our pool can once again become a vibrant and well-utilized part of our community.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to submit.
Of course. Ms. Blair?
I'm Cindy Blair. I'm a Brighton resident, but I'm not speaking on behalf of myself this evening. I'm speaking on behalf of the previous aquatic director who held this title for 18 years. This position was terminated at the start of the pandemic and has not been reinstated. The outdoor pool is a gunite pool, which is concrete pool meant to last nearly forever. As long as the concrete is taken care of, the pool will last. Since the pool is used minimally about 10 weeks in the summer, it has held up extremely well. Filling in the pool with concrete would cost just as much as the repairs. The following maintenance was done by the former aquatics director: opening and closing, painting, bathroom fixes, acid washed and painted the pool. The cost was $5,000 for materials each time this was done. No extra charge for labor, since the aquatics director did all of the work herself. Note, one of the members at the committee meeting stated they could not find anyone to do the acid washing and painting of the pool. The former aquatics director has offered to help perform this maintenance again to help keep our pool. Aquatics programs that are no longer offered and generated past revenue. Lap and open swim at the high school pool had about 15 swimmers a day. Swim lessons at the town pool and Brighton High School were always full and had wait lists. Competitive swim program, lifeguard training, water polo club, water fitness, camps and daycares would utilize the town pool daily in the summer, which brought in revenue. Pool parties were a big hit on the weekend nights. Parties were always booked. Splash into summer party to announce the opening of the pool. Food trucks, bands, free open swim. Face painting helped to gain attraction to the pool. Staff was recruited from the high school at job fairs, concession stand. There were food items sold to make a profit: candy, pretzels, freeze pops, water, Gatorade, etc. The Boy Scouts even provided flower planters for the pool deck to decorate it. The need at the town pool was so high that hours were increased and extended. Pool programs were advertised on the town website, brochures, flyers, and word of mouth. Since the elimination of the aquatics director's position by the town in 2020, the pool has not been taken care of, advertised, highlighted, or featured through the town.
30 seconds.
The recreation department has done minimal efforts to what is needed to have it open. They have not gone above and beyond because no one in the recreation department is equipped to run a successful aquatics program. Thank you, and please enter this into the public record for tonight's meeting.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to address the board during the open forum? Yes, come on up.
My name's Clementine Worden. I live at 114 Monroe Parkway. I really like the town pool, and I think that it's a great thing for people that are not little kids, and there's not very much things, and it's one of the only things that is like cheap and can be used by kids of all ages and is used by senior citizens and people of all ages. So, and a splash pad is just does not provide the exact same stuff. And there are many ways that you can make more money for the pool, as mentioned by other people. And so that I think that that the pool is overall like better than having a splash pad and cheaper.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Mr. Tetenoff?
So I'm here to address the destruction of the Sandra L. Frankel Memorial Town Pool. As was mentioned at the recent Brighton Democratic Committee, the town supervisor has had his wife installed as the town leader at the Brighton Democratic Committee. So in effect, the town government here in Brighton is the cult of personality of Bill. He's been running the town for the last 12 years, and if it's something that he likes, it goes through like there's no issue. But when there's something he's on the fence, and then there's a mass outpouring of support that come and try to change his mind, he'll be like, oh, young girl, I really like that you're stepping up and promoting yourself, being engaged. And, oh, okay, there's an outpouring of support, so will that make it so that I'll be reelected? He'll take that into consideration. But if there's something that he doesn't like, or people that he doesn't like, he'll hold his hand to his jaw to try to hide the rage that shows on his face. And I don't understand. We own the town. You're just the person, the public servant that's supposed to shepherd our dollars for our public good. Why behave like a tyrant instead of a public servant? So I'm coming up here to put forward my feedback. Oh, and if Bill likes you, like he likes Luis Novros, he'll let you go on and he'll engage you from the audience. If he doesn't like you, oh, your 3 minutes are up, and now it's my turn. And the rage just starts to emanate from him. Like he can't, like he's back in high school getting picked on by somebody, but here we're asking to have our input heard on how our dollars are spent. It's like it's his little ball, and you can't do anything about it. So Bill's got a rage problem, and I hope that you see somebody to get it addressed. I mean, this, like, I came from the Soviet Union, and this reminds me of Brezhnev, the way he ruled. This is what I will do. This, you have no choice about it.
Mr. Tetenoff, folks can't hear you at home if you're not at the microphone.
That's fine. You can hear me. I'm here to address you and the town board.
Mr. Tetenoff, we do want our folks at home to be able to hear you.
They can see me. They can hear me.
30 seconds.
Okay. But do you see? This is like his little fiefdom. And if you don't like it, and through the Brighton Democratic Committee, his cronies are the ones that are being promoted and being put forth to be to receive the Brighton Democratic Committee ballot. So if you are in his good graces, things are great. But if you don't like what he does or his behaviors, all of a sudden you're on the list of persona non grata, and that's not right. It is our money that's going to pay for this stuff. You are supposed to be the shepherd, the public servant that takes our input and does what's best for the town.
Time, Mr. Tetenoff. Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to address the board during the open forum? Thank you to everybody that spoke. Hearing none, Chris, can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Bill, I move that we approve the agenda.
Second?
Megan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Warner.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt.
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado. Aye. Councilmember Salzman.
Aye.
Thank you again, everybody that came tonight. As I said before, this is a process. It's an open process. We listened to your words tonight. We will continue to listen to your words going forward as we look to provide recreational opportunities here in the community. We have two public hearings tonight. They are both continuations of public hearings that began at previous meetings. The first is the public hearing on the incentive zoning proposal of home leasing and Providence Housing for the Westgate Apartments project. Now, I do want to mention as we start these public hearings, similar rules. If you would like to speak during the public hearing, please raise your hand. When I call on you, please come up to the podium to speak. If you're participating in the public hearing remotely and you wish to speak during the hearing, again, you must do it on Zoom. There are detailed instructions, again, for doing that on the town's webpage. We'll call on people here in the room that would like to speak, and then we'll call on anybody on the Zoom that would like to speak. It is important that you state your name and address for the record of the public hearing. Please, again, direct your remarks to the town board and not to the room or to other speakers. Please refrain from personal attacks and from outbursts of any kind, including but not limited to applause, boos, or any other similar disruption during the hearing, out of respect for the speakers and out of respect for the time of everybody here tonight. As I mentioned before, we do not allow signs in the meeting, including during public hearings. People who don't follow these rules will be warned. You'll given an opportunity, but repeated failure to follow these rules or failure to follow other direction from the chair may result in your speaking privileges being ended early or being directed to leave the meeting. As I mentioned, this is the first of 2 public hearings tonight on the application under incentive zoning from home leasing for the proposed Westgate Apartments projects. Although from what I'm hearing and what I heard from you, maybe that name is really sort of a placeholder. The development is proposed. I did see that. I saw your comments, Cindy. Yes. No, I don't think that will be the final name of the project. It's my hope. The project will be located right near the town line on Elmwood, right next to the Psych Center there. About 11 acres of land. You have a map of the lot there. Now, at our last meeting, the public hearing was tabled until tonight. So first, I'm going to ask Councilmember Corrado for a motion to take the public hearing off the table.
Yes, I move that we take the public hearing regarding the incentive zoning and rezoning application of home leasing and Providence housing for the Westgate Apartments project off the table.
Second.
Please call the roll, Peggy.
Councilmember Warner.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt.
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado.
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman.
Aye.
Supervisor Maley.
Aye. So the motion to remove that matter from the table has been approved, and therefore I declare the public hearing to be open. And I see counsel for the developer here at the podium, so I assume you have a presentation to make. I'll turn it back to you, Betsy Brugg.
Thank you very much. I'm Betsy Brugg with Woods Oviatt Gilman, and it's a pleasure to be here tonight with our whole team. We are very excited to be here on this project again. Brett Garwood, CEO of Home Leasing, Adam Driscoll from Home Leasing, and somewhere Brian Burry from Bergman, who wasn't here last month, but he is here, or excuse me, a couple weeks ago, but he is here tonight. Our civil engineer, Brian, and I have actually a long history with this property, going way back to the original inception of kind of the concept here. So as the supervisor mentioned, we were here a couple weeks ago, but for the benefit of the public, this has been a process. We are proposing a rezoning and the use of incentive zoning, which is a wonderful tool available to the town, which allows development of this complicated property and at the same time provides the opportunity to provide some fantastic benefits, I think, to the town of Brighton and the residents and community here. So we were here a couple weeks ago. Before that, we started, I think, with the Public Works Committee. We came before this board with an initial presentation of the project. We went to the planning board that did a pretty thorough review in connection with the incentive zoning. There will be a separate site plan application should we be approved by this board. The next step would be to have a more detailed review of the site plan and go through that site plan approval process with the planning board. So we're not here for a site plan approval per se. After the planning board process, the next step is to come back here for the public hearing. So that started at the last meeting, and we are back here tonight. To kind of go over sort of the bones of the application, we put in a pretty detailed application package. There's quite a few requirements that we have to address as part of any incentive zoning application. We have the plan out here for the benefit. Is this okay where it's located? Do you want to?
Yeah, well, I'm seeing Ms. Blair trying to. Are you all right?
I don't mind turning it. It's up to the town board. How you?
Okay, as long as you're good, I guess it's fine. Okay.
Yeah, wonderful. So we're talking about this flag piece of property, this kind of flag lot looking piece of property. It's actually 2 parcels in the town of Brighton, immediately adjacent to the city line. This was all part of the New York State Psychiatric Hospital campus. Back in 2015, a process was started with the City of Rochester to develop kind of the master plan for this development. Again, recognizing that we're crossing into two municipalities here. And in 2017, a planned development district was adopted for the city portion of the property. It always contemplated coming to Brighton with this affordable housing development. The first 1,400 plus feet of this property is 100 foot wide. It's a very narrow, basically a pole. It really can't be developed very easily. What we're proposing is to build townhouses here. It's 120 units, so we have 80 units in an apartment building in the back, and we have 40 townhomes. They are 1 and 2 levels with attached
40
garage.
townhome units.
I'm sorry, 40 units,
Yeah.
yes, in 7 buildings. So, you know, we've really maximized the use of this area. It's got some utilities. The roads, as you can see, are highlighted in blue. There's 3 points of access here, one through Brickstone, one through this primary intersection, signalized intersection, and out through Science Parkway eventually. So I will say back in 2015 when the seeker was done and when the planned development district was approved, there was a very extensive, thorough review of all of the potential environmental impacts, and a significant amount of time was spent studying and honestly debating and going through and arriving at the approval of the traffic for this project. So there was a lot that went into this. The town board was involved. The planning board was involved in the seeker process back at that time, and the negative declaration was issued in 2017. I didn't submit, the City of Rochester has, I believe, submitted a letter to the town of Brighton indicating that nothing further is required for seeker purposes. I think you have that in your record. In respect to the application, you know, one of the key items is consistency with the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan calls for this property to be rezoned to a medium or high density residential with the incentive zoning. This is actually going to be the same zoning that we have at Brickstone, and then we have high density residential proposed here in the city. So this is really just consistent with what is kind of the character of that whole area. As you know, back towards Westfall, in that direction, we've got the DDSO, we've got some, the Empire State College, we've got some institutional uses, Science Parkway, obviously, you know, tech, commercial type activity. So it's really a kind of a mixed use area, and the housing will be a wonderful amenity to the town on this side. In terms of other aspects of the comprehensive plan, some of the key features are that we're providing a tremendous amount of connectivity. The comprehensive plan calls for the creation of a greenway that connects the town park on Westfall to Highland Park, so we are advancing that goal. There are some wetlands on the property. The comprehensive plan calls for the town to preserve that, so that a conservation easement is being offered as part of this project. Again, advancing a particular goal of the comprehensive plan. The project has kind of the highest thresholds, highest goals for sustainability and energy conservation. I'm happy to go through so many of those features. Some of them honestly are over my head, but they are very, very cool. It's net zero is the goal. Passive house, yes. So a lot of fantastic features. I can go into some of the details. We outlined a lot of that in the submission. So there's a lot of things that are very much consistent with the town's comprehensive plan. I actually can't think how this project could be more consistent and could further advance the comprehensive plan than it does. It advances community goals, affordable housing, helps seniors stay in their homes. So of the, I should say Home Leasing has Providence Housing as a partner on this project, and out of this project, about a third of the units are supported housing for seniors and people living with HIV. So those people will have all types of services brought in that come with the housing units that allow people to remain independent and live in the community. So there's some wonderful services that come with that. Let's talk about community engagement. So there's been quite a bit of community engagement on this project. Again, starting back in 2015, possibly earlier than that. There were many meetings early on, and there have been more recent meetings in connection with this application. As required by the town and your policy, we sent notices of the public hearing to, I believe, over 560 residents within 1,000 feet of this site.
And I think some of those were residents of the city of Rochester as well as the town of Brighton.
Yes, we send notices to human beings, to residents. It doesn't matter if they live in the city or the town of Brighton. The town of Brighton absolutely respects that people live in the area and they deserve to have notice. So they were all notified. And believe me, it is not an easy thing to do. We did have to go through the Board of Elections to get many of the addresses of the renters in the area. So we did send out quite a few notices. And as the town knows, there were some residents who appeared at the public hearing a couple weeks ago. Home Leasing maintains an open dialogue, of course, with their neighbor over at Brickstone as well. Let's talk about the incentive zoning itself. So as the town board knows, this is a process where there are some amenities that come with the project that the applicant offers to the community, the good, the benefits that we provide, and we do need some incentives, which are essentially some deviations from the code that are necessary to accommodate and allow this affordable housing project to be developed. So to outline those for you, the number one amenity we're proposing is the affordable housing itself. It is not easy to do affordable housing, to make housing affordable. This is housing, quality housing, brand new quality housing with modern amenities for households earning below 80% of the average area median income. The rents are regulated. There'll be a 30-year regulatory agreement, I believe, at minimum 30 years. So when we look at the difference between what a market rate project would cost, what a market rate rent would be and an affordable rent, we're really looking at that difference. What is the value of that? And over a 30-year period, the cash value of that is over $20,400,000. So that's a very substantial amount of money. The rents are estimated to average about 30% below market rate, as I mentioned. Of the units, as I mentioned, supportive housing, 30% of the units will be for frail elderly and people living with HIV. Catholic Charities, Family and Community Services, I believe, are going to be providing services. So that could include case management, support plans, healthcare coordination. There'll be a wellness room, transportation, life skills. You know, it really depends on the needs of the residents, but there are services intended to help people live independently in the community. The value, cash value over 30 years of the supported services is over $36 million. It's $900,000 a year. And that's all outlined in the submission. We have green amenities. Again, as I said, the project is committed to the highest levels of sustainability and energy conservation. It will be a model in this community. I don't know that you have any other projects in the town that strive to achieve these levels of sustainability. But again, it's passive house standards, and they are construction using enterprise green community standards for energy efficiency. And I believe they've received a Building of Excellence Award from NYSERDA of over $1,300,000. So it's going to be a model for sustainability in the community. Open space, playground amenities. So the site provides, connectivity to the trail system and to the sidewalks. It really will allow residents to actually traverse the town. They'll be able to get over to Clinton Avenue, to the shops there. They'll be able to get over to Mount Hope. They'll be able to get to many service providers that are in the area, to many employers in the area. So this is, again, a connectivity benefit. We are, again, advancing the town's goal of seeking a greenway between Westfall and Highland Park. The benefits of the playground itself, I believe it's being designed to meet the needs of all abilities. It's going to be a very inclusive project, so again, intended to meet all ages and abilities. A cash value that we've put on that is about $300,000. That's also outlined and detailed in the application. And then there's a pilot amenity also. It is not possible to do affordable housing without a pilot. This property has really generated minimal revenues. It's vacant land. It was owned by the state, so it really has never generated any significant tax dollars. With the proposed pilot that we have provided some information, again, in your submission and discussed in previous meetings, we're looking at doing a shelter rent pilot, and the cash value, the benefit to the community of that is over $96,000 a year in shelter rent payments, and over the 40-year term that we're proposing, over $5.6 million in cash value from the pilot. The incentives, that's the other side of this. So I think there's like a tremendous amount of community benefit, and at the end of the day, the town is going to have a state-of-the-art affordable housing project in a great location and provide some really quality housing to people who might not otherwise be able to afford housing in the town. So I think it's going to be wonderful. The incentives. So we have them outlined on the plan. The first 5 of them. So the lot width. So the first 5, they're all, I should back up and say, we don't have any use incentives involved here. The types of incentives we're talking about are dimensional types of relief. And the first few really have to do with this configuration of this pole, the existence of the utilities, and kind of the limited width and the limited area that we have to work with. So as a result, we have, our first incentive is the 100-foot width of the parcel itself. A 12-foot front yard. You know, I should have let Brian go through it, but all right. Our front yard, we just don't have any depth in the front yard. As you can see, the road in front of the property is actually in the city of Rochester. So again, we're working with the physical constraints of the site. The same thing with the 30-foot rear yard. The distance between buildings, again, the goal here was actually to create the best possible site plan utilizing kind of the challenges of this area. That's the distance between buildings. Again, trying to give people some space and we'll kind of lay out the buildings as best we could. 20-foot side yard, again, the same objective. The 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So these last few pertain to the parcel in the back, the larger flag where there will be the 80-unit building. So in order to make this project feasible and buildable, there are some limitations to how this building is built and some requirements. We need a certain number of units, we need a certain height. We are trying to reduce also the footprint of the building itself, and we have the wetlands that we want to make sure that we don't impact. So with that, we have, let's see, no garages or similar cover. So we do provide adequate parking, but we're not providing any garages. It's not feasible for the project. We also don't believe that based on the demand of the number of vehicles that we expect that we really have any issue as a result of this. It works for the project. The building height there's code is 40-foot maximum. We need a 50-foot. Again, we're going to minimize the footprint, but achieve the number of units that we need to have a viable project. Again, 4 stories, same reasoning there. The length of the building walls, 220 feet building wall length, where 160 feet is allowed by code. Again, we need to do one larger building to make this work. The way to deal with that is by having quality architecture, which we look forward to presenting, I believe, to not just the planning board, but I assume the architectural review board will take a look at our walls. And then we have some ground-mounted solar. You probably don't have that in town very often. So it's a sustainability feature. It is just something that adds to the sustainability standards of the project, and it should be something that will be unique to this project, and hopefully the town will be proud to see some solar in town. So that is kind of our list of our incentives. So I think for the most part, none of them is particularly, significant in size, and they are all very necessary to make this project work. As far as comments from the public, I think the primary issues that we've heard about are the traffic. I think people struggle currently at Brickstone with the current traffic situation. The traffic has definitely been reviewed thoroughly, and I think we're very confident that the addition of this project is actually going to improve the traffic conditions. People don't have the access to the multiple points of ingress and egress. With this project comes access to a signalized intersection, also access out to Science Parkway. So I think even residents of Brixton will have access to a signalized intersection they might not have today. So I think there's many benefits, and we will again, go through the site plan further with the planning board and continue to engage with the public as they have questions about the project. The other issue I think that came up was buffering. And again, that we're going to do our best to buffer. There's certain limitations because of the conditions that currently exist and the size and configuration of the property, and the existing location of the development over in Brixton is actually very close to the property line in some places. But we will do our best to, obviously provide the best possible buffering. And again, we'll deal with that at the planning board, should we be successful here. So those are the couple things that came up. We'd be happy to answer any questions or give you any other information.
Thank you. Is there anyone here that would like to address the board on the subject of this public hearing? Cindy.
Hi, Cindy Blair. I'm a Brighton resident and a realtor. So a couple of things. One was the name, and I know that at the last meeting, your first words were, it's not in stone. Okay, because there is a Westgate, there's 2 Westages, and we're on the east side. So if we could come up with something that doesn't have West in it, that would be great. My other concern was, there are quite a few units, and I don't know if anybody has thought of this, that are 3 bedrooms, which means there can be probably 4 children, 2 kids in each of the 2 bedrooms. What if there's even 20 kindergarteners? Our school infrastructure can't accommodate. That's a whole nother classroom. So I'm really concerned about how many, what if there's 50 third graders? That's a huge concern. Also, I think you said that $93,000 a year was going to Brighton for taxes, correct? Okay. Part of this is in the city as well, so are the units for I don't know if I'm supposed to direct the
You can address me and I'll direct it to them as needed.
If part of it, are they putting like the smaller units, the 1-bedroom and maybe 2-bedroom units on the city side? Like, are those kids going to Brighton, of the part of it that's in the city? How does that work? And do all of the, well, I guess it doesn't matter if some of the taxes go to the city and some, how is that working?
The homes themselves will be in the town of Brighton. So any children in any of these units will be going to Brighton schools. The only thing that just touches the city is at the end of the driveway, the street that it's on.
So
I know I've read the numbers, and there are like 30-some 3-bedroom units proposed and maybe 14 2-bedroom, but maybe because taxes and taxes are an important part of any environmental review. There's something that the economic impact is something that's considered under the State Environmental Quality Review Act. So if Betsy or Mr. Garwood, if you'd like to.
Okay, yeah, I'm just concerned about how many kids can the school accommodate it, because we don't know how many kids are going to. I think that was it.
Yep, thank you. Yeah, and if I don't answer all your questions, you can, remind me.
And if you would give you.
So my name's Brett Garwood. I'm CEO of Home Leasing, and I live at 300 Dale Road in Brighton. So we do have a wide range of units. We have 1, 2, and 3-bedroom units. I think about, if you want to kind of estimate or understand how many children might be here, I think about all the units that have more than one bedroom, right? And there will be about 82 units, 82 bedrooms above and beyond the first bedroom where presumably the adult is, or adults, right? So I would find it hard to believe that every single one of those units has a school-age child, or many would have multiple children. But if you presume that you have 82 kids and you disperse them evenly across the 13 grades, you get to a very small number of each grade, right? And I hope that's something that happens, honestly, because one of the reasons we're building this is an actual response to the need for affordable housing for families so they can enjoy Brighton schools. I suspect many of the families that move into our property will already live in Brighton. And so you also have to consider the fact that this won't be only more kids, from somewhere else. But to me, that's the goal. We're developing a wide range of housing units to provide for a wide range of housing needs in Brighton. Everything from 1, 2, and 3 units, seniors with special needs, individuals, families, small and large. And we're doing it all on this property, which I think forms for a great community.
Thank you.
I wasn't being discriminatory. It's just, I'm just nervous about.
No, I'm just answering.
No, I'm all for equal and everybody coming. It's just I'm so concerned knowing that, we only have one grade for every, and if, God forbid, there's even 20 kindergartners.
Yeah, I live on Dale Road. My whole cul-de-sac is ranches, 2 and 3 bedroom ranches. There are 0 children in the 12 ranches that are on my cul-de-sac, right? We are the only household, I'm an empty nester now, we are the only household with 2 people in the buildings. The Brighton schools will increase when those units turn over way more than the units at our property. So there's a lot of opportunities for children that go beyond what we're going to build.
Thank you.
Yep.
Is there anyone else that would like to address the board during the public hearing? Mr. Tetnoff?
Well, I'm for affordable housing.
Mr. Tetnoff, if you would please state your name and address for the record of the public hearing.
Supervisor Maley, I would enter into a contract for you to give me $10 every time you say that. So in the future, every time you tell me that, I'm going to send you a bill for $10. Would that be acceptable?
No, Mr. Tetnoff, we ask that you state your name so that your comments will be included as part of the record of the public hearing.
And if I don't state my name and address, they won't be? So you're going to shut me out as you know where I live. You know that I'm a Brighton town resident. There is no reason for this standoff. There's no reason for there's no legitimate reason for this demand.
I couldn't agree more. It is for our stenographer. If you would please do our stenographer the favor of including your address.
If you would please do me the favor of reducing the tax burden on the residents and the citizens of Brighton, that would do me far more of a benefit than providing my personal information to the stenographer.
If you would rather not state it publicly over the air, if you would give it to her when you're finished, maybe that would be an acceptable compromise.
Why would anybody want their personal information put on a public record for identity thieves to steal their private information, open up credit cards in their name? There is no legitimate reason for this.
Would you like to speak to the subject matter of the public hearing, Mr. Tetnoff?
I would.
Okay.
Thank you for thank you for the interruption for the last 2 minutes. I'm kind of confused. I thought this was an open session or a public session, and the speakers were limited to 3 minutes. this presentation took significantly longer than 3 minutes.
That is the case in the open forum. Public hearings, because they are an official record, they are a part of the approval process for incentive zoning in this case, or in other contexts, they may relate to a local law. Not only does the proponent have the opportunity to speak longer, but so do you, Mr. Tetenoff. I am not limiting your time during the public hearing, so long as you wish to address the subject matter of the public hearing.
I find that interesting. And then you're the sole determiner of what is on topic. This really has become the cult of personality. You're becoming like the Trump figure of the town of Brighton, and I don't know why. It's like you need to have, like, did you not have enough control of your own life that you need to have control over others during this town board meeting, which is supposed to be for the residents? You're supposed to be the supervisor that's implementing the will of the people of the town of Brighton. And I just don't understand this need for control. So my feedback is I'm for affordable housing in the town of Brighton. So many people have posted in the Brighton Family Facebook group that they're looking to move into the town to take advantage of the school district. Supposedly, we have a pretty good school district, although my older son's favorite teacher turned out to be a pedophile arrested by the FBI. So the town of Brighton that I know of, two teachers in the Brighton High School have been arrested by the FBI, investigated. So, and my youngest son, he was berated by his first grade teacher at not Frez, the Council Rock. She berated him so much that he's got a tick. He's emotionally scarred for the rest of his life. This is the Brighton School District. And when I talked to the supervisor, the superintendent, they did nothing. I spent thousands of dollars on therapy for my kids because of these horrible teachers that get passed through the school district. So the Brighton School District is not a panacea. There's some fantastic benefits. There are opportunities for gifted students here in BCSD that are not available in lots of other places. So overall, I still believe that there's benefits to being here. I personally went to school in New York City, PS 104 in Far Rockaway, Queens. So a kid that's interested, that's tough, will make it anywhere. But I am for the benefits that a lot of teachers seem to try to expose students to. So I am for more people getting those opportunities versus less. So regardless of what some realtors will say, I think some realtors are incentivized by buying and selling homes. So I would put that grain of salt into their feedback. So I'm for affordable housing to make create more opportunities for more people to experience some of the advantages that living in Brighton brings. So I'm for that. I'm still kind of curious about this unlimited time session. Boy, if I had known, I would be up here more often talking, giving my feedback. Maybe next time I'll come up with a 20-minute presentation as to what I think about certain town board members, why they never question the town supervisor, even when there are glaring mistakes that the town supervisor makes. Glaring. It's like it's all in lockstep. If you get on the BDC, you get on the supervisor's good graces, you get on his wife's good graces, it's your path on that runway of town politics is like laid out in front of you like a red carpet. But if you question him and say, "Oh, I don't think that's such a good idea," your 3 minutes are up. Get out of here. Good luck. I'm for the affordable housing, and I would encourage you to give the developer more opportunities to address feedback and look for creative ways to solve issues that maybe not everybody is of the same mindset. Maybe some people will say, oh, this might be a disadvantage. I would advocate for them to have opportunities to maybe rework the plan to address it so that it can be a successful venture for everybody involved, because my want is for everybody to be lifted up by people here in the town of Brighton. My kids have benefited quite a bit, even through the adversity that they've experienced. So I'm for this affordable housing development.
Thank you, Mr. Tentenoff. Is there anyone else that would like to address the board during this public hearing? Board members, do you have questions? I do, but I'll wait. And Robin, go ahead.
So I really love the idea of this project. I think there is a compelling public benefit to both the sustainability components and the affordability components. So I'm generally in favor of the project and the incentive zoning application. And I had questions, however, about the denser housing unit that looks very utilitarian, and then combine that with the ground mount solar. Now, if that larger building had a peaked roof, could you not do rooftop solar at reduced costs and greater energy generation than a ground mount installation?
Sure. One thing I'll start with is like the exact aesthetics and what that building will ultimately design will be a substantial discussion, I know, in the planning board, the architecture review board. We have all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'm just looking at that.
But I'll answer the question from my point of view.
Mm-hmm.
So we do have some roof-mounted solar on this. It doesn't need to be pitched to be solar. In fact, it's easier if it's not pitched to be solar. I'm a huge fan of flat roofs in situations like this because of a few reasons. We're going to be using air source heat pumps as an electric thing. Yeah. And those scattered all over the ground, I think, are really annoying and awful. Instead, putting them on the roof really makes the perimeter of the building much nicer. But because they're on the roof, it limits some space for solar, which is why we want to supplement it on the ground in a pretty secluded place that I don't think anybody could view from any road anyway, other than our own road. So there's like trade-offs on these design decisions, but it would also make the building even taller, right? And we're already exceeding the maximum height. So this is a perfect example of like just reasonable people can disagree, and it's not a question of right or wrong in my mind. It's just different ways to accomplish different things given the constraints and challenges.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
I have a similar question that I recognize will be worked through in the subsequent committee situations, but I wanted to inquire, well, let me first echo Councilmember Wilt's approval of the overall concept of the project, and it is absolutely needed in Brighton, and I appreciate the thoughtfulness with which home leasing has approached every element in this. I have a question about the configuration of the townhomes and the front, the garage forward aspect of the architecture, the design there. And if I understand correctly, some of that is influenced by utilities existing already in the property.
You mean, I just want to make sure I understand, why is the garage up, forward of the rest of the facade.
Yes, rather than
I don't,
making
maybe
the.
my colleague Adam might have some input on this too, but we're trying to accomplish a lot of things, and one of them is to fit on this site with room between buildings and room in front and behind of buildings. So if we push the garage flat with the rest of the building, then it's harder to accommodate all the things that you need to be putting in the first floor plan. So it's really, I think it's a really design constraint and issue. Living space above garage is less, there's like a lot of different things. I don't know if I have a specific answer, but those are the things that come to mind. And again, I think those are things that will be discussed in the Planning and Architecture Review Board, right? I would love to not do garages at all in the townhomes. I think that would be even better. I'll say that too.
That's the utopian goal, right?
Yeah.
But that's also
they're really expensive. It's a real burden on the project to do garages.
we dedicate almost as much space to housing a vehicle as we do to housing humans.
Exactly.
And that's
Yeah,
a little
exactly.
out of proportion in some ways. But I recognize it's a necessity at this time.
Right. But that's definitely, I know all those questions will be thoroughly discussed, and that's what those processes are for, and we'll go through them.
Mr. Garwood, I expect, and I'm very much in favor of the project, I expect it's going to be very popular, and there's going to be a lot of people applying to get into these units.
Mm-hmm.
How is that going to be handled? How will the potential residents be screened and selected?
Sure. The marketing, the selection, the screening process is entirely dedicated or controlled by state law and our funders. So, but give you some broad outlines is we will start marketing this property under a affirmatively fair housing marketing plan that's approved by the state, which includes trying to get everybody, the general public, to know about it, and specifically thinking about who might benefit from this housing, who might not easily access information about it, and we will specifically target ways to market towards those populations, right? Things like different languages and things like that, for example. Everybody will be offered an opportunity to apply, and at first there will be a lottery. So if we get 500 applications, there'll be a lottery, and we'll have a 1 to 500. We'll start with number 1, and we'll specifically qualify them for the unit that they want based on their household size, their income, whether they qualify for the supportive housing, all that sort of stuff. I shouldn't say that, because the supportive housing, you'll have a different intake process that's conducted by Providence Housing or Catholic Family Services. So then we do our selection and screening procedures. We do thorough selection and screening procedures that are have substantial limits on what you can and can't do according to state law, and we follow those guidelines. So it's quite a process, and it's abundantly fair, I think, right? I suspect we will have a very long waiting list for this property in a very short time. Our properties, for example, on the Inner Loop have hundreds of people on the waiting list. It takes years to get in once we're built.
Thank you.
Or once we're filled.
Nate, do you have any questions? Thank you, both Betsy and Brett. The comment about the wait list is indicative of how serious the need is. We have all been shocked by the poverty numbers, particularly childhood poverty in the greater Rochester area. And it's not just the numbers, but it's the concentration of those numbers in certain parts of particularly the city, like the Crescent. And it's so important to have access to affordable housing throughout the area, and this will help. It's a start, and we all know it is a start, and it's a project that we've been talking about for a very long time for reasons beyond your control. Took a lot longer to get to this stage than any of us would like, but I'm pleased that it's here, and I'm pleased we have the opportunity to look at meeting this palpable need for affordable housing in the community. Several questions that I have. You talked about connectivity. We had a dialogue about garages. This project is located on Elmwood Avenue. It's adjacent to Elmwood Avenue. RGRTA has decimated bus service on Elmwood Avenue under their reimagined RTS plan. Will you commit to joining with the town in doing whatever we have to do to restore serviceable bus service? We've made a start on making Elmwood Avenue a complete street. Unfortunately, there were forces that stopped Congressman Morelli's plan for bike lanes that would be protected. But we now have the pavement diet. We have bike lanes as part of the street. We do not have adequate bus service on Elmwood Avenue. Will home leasing, Providence, I mean, you can only speak for home leasing. Will you commit to work with the town to engage RTS to get bus service restored to Elmwood Avenue, serving your community and others?
Well, it's an easy answer. I'm sure Providence Housing would say the same thing as me, but yes, absolutely. We would be very excited about that service. We are happy to do outreach and advocacy and provide information about how it would benefit our residents and all that sort of stuff. We're totally committed to trying to make it happen.
Right.
It can't be a requirement for us to proceed, but we will do whatever we can to make it occur.
You know, that's really what I want to hear.
Exactly.
I mean, your residents, and after all, this is housing for the benefit of residents, this type of housing particularly. You have the county's largest employer just a short bus ride away. And RTS somehow believes that the U of R Medical Center operates on a 9-to-5 basis, because the buses run towards the medical center at 7, 8 in the morning, and they go home at 5, 4, and 5 in the afternoon. And that's obviously not consistent with serving not only getting people, not just employees, but everybody that needs to go to the medical center, but all of the other facilities that used to get served by a bus that started on Main Street, went down to Winton Road, served North Winton Village, and then came across on Elmwood Avenue. So we'll be at those barricades.
That, but we'll follow up too, absolutely.
I know these are separate projects, but one of the concerns that I've always had is I want to make sure the residents in this project aren't in any way stigmatized. Will residents in this community, whatever it's called, have access to what I understand are community amenities planned on the city side of the property, whether they are fitness or other types of amenities? Will residents here be able to access and benefit from amenities in the rest of the overall parcel?
You know, I don't know the answer to that. It depends on, you know, I want to say yes, but I think whatever's available to the public obviously would be available to our residents. If they are providing something that's, you know, I guess I need an example of what it might be. If they're doing a park.
A fitness club.
Right.
I'm going to guess, given the magnitude of what I know is a mixed use that's planned over there, projects of that kind, it's not unusual to have fitness facilities.
Sure.
Will residents, and I'm going to, not open to the public. You talked about public facilities, obviously. But I think it's important, again, that we're looking at the development of a parcel, the former Psych Center, which happens to be partly in the city and partly in the town of Brighton. But I would hope that this new chapter will allow people in all parts of that parcel to use all of those amenities.
Yeah, I think I want the answer to be yes, but I can't promise.
It should
that,
help.
Right,
I mean,
you know
it
what I mean?
makes
We
your
would
development
advocate-
all the more attractive.
Sure. We would certainly advocate for sharing facilities and things like that. We certainly will share the things that are on our side of the line, but I don't have a commitment from the owner of that property, which is going to be developed into many different things with other, I don't have a commitment to say if they build something if they do a market rate housing project on that side and it's got a fitness center, even though we have a little bit of fitness, we'll have a fitness center too. Whether our tenants will have access, I don't have that commitment, so I can't promise it.
Betsy, were you getting up to?
I was just going to say, we just can't make any commitments for the owner of the remainder of the property, who I believe you're aware, they have many other issues that project is not, they're not at that level of detail yet. They're not at that level of detail, so yeah, we just can't.
But I do
can't do
think,
that. I can tell you that the site was designed to be sort of integrated in terms of like the connectivity. I think Brian can probably speak a little more to it. Isn't there like a linear?
And this is part of connectivity. This is part of making sure residents in one part of the development don't feel like they're, again, stigmatized, or that there is some
I don't think that will
kind of-
happen. That I would say, I don't see why that would be a concern. I think that this is a really nice quality project that's just going to blend right into the community.
And I don't doubt that.
Yeah.
And I think that's obviously all of our goal.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the ways is to make sure it blends into this overall development. We talked about it back 8, 9, 10, however many years ago it was, when a different set of faces, different set of players, but we were asking the same sorts of questions. And maybe it was the commonality was greater at that point, but I wasn't hearing as much difficulty saying, yeah, we're gonna see to it that the folks living here also have access to amenities in a larger community setting. That's part of connectivity. We've seen in New York City where, to get around rent control, for example, they have different entrances to buildings, different ways that stigmatize people, that remind people every day that although it may sort of look like they're in the same building or in the same project, they don't get the same bennies. They don't get the same perks that someone living in another part. So, and I understand today, I want to lay a marker down. I want to put that on the table. It's something that I think we're going to be talking about as we talk about what the conditions are going forward on this project and how we can make this project, as successful as it can be. You talked, and maybe I misheard you. You stated an amenity dollar value that you're placing on the playground of, I think, $300,000?
That was the playground and open spaces, so that includes the
Oh,
trails.
playground and open
Yeah,
space.
that was
okay.
like open space amenities. That's what that was.
Okay.
We're not building a $300,000 playground.
And I will say all the
You might have
amenities
made a
are
lot of people
detailed.
here earlier happy.
Not building.
Yeah. And
Okay.
all the amenities are detailed in our, like more detail in writing, actually.
Okay.
A nice playground.
A nice one, because obviously, we do, it's important that there be a nice playground. I also heard you talked about a 30-year minimum, which I assume is the 30-year minimum on keeping the affordable rent level.
Yeah, it is. So we're requesting a 40-year pilot, right? Because that is the likely duration of our mortgage.
And that
would also mean that the regulatory agreement would have to be 40 years, but I'm here
That's
today to tell
exactly
you.
where I was going.
Right. The regulatory agreement will be 50 years, and frankly, there is no possible way I can imagine, unless there's some sort of new program 50 years from now that actively is trying to get affordable housing converted to market rate, this project will not be able to pay off the remaining subordinate debt from HCR that will be here 50 years from now and convert to permanent housing. I can't see it. I've not seen that happen in my entire career in this market.
I just wanted to make sure we weren't signing up for a pilot agreement with I understand why concessions on on the payments in lieu of taxes. But I certainly wanted to make sure that as long as there's a pilot in place, that these are going to be affordable
Absolutely.
units.
If for some reason we do a 30-year mortgage, the pilot would be 30 years, right? I want to do a 40-year mortgage because I need to borrow as much as we possibly can, because this is a very expensive project if you just look at the roadways and the 3-bedroom units and all that sort of stuff.
The supportive housing, which I think is really important, it's a great part of this proposal. Will those be, how will they be distributed among the 1, 2, and 3-bedroom units? And maybe, again, maybe you don't know, maybe yet, I don't know, but I'm just asking the question, how will those be distributed?
I believe it to be true that all those units are 1-bedroom units, right? Because they're for frail elderly. It's possible there's a couple 2-bedrooms, but I really think they're not. They, the plan is that they will all
they're
be
frail elderly, or they're also HIV?
HIV/AIDS. I believe all those units are single 1-unit units, and are all located in the apartment building. And the reason for that is because that's where the services will be, that's where the office will be. This was kind of originally maybe 2 projects, a family project and financing separately. We're going to finance them together now, but I believe that will remain true. It's possible that the state requires us to put a few in the townhomes as well if there's some 2-bedrooms, just because they want some disbursement. But they won't be on one floor. They have to be, again, there's very strict guidelines that they have to be entirely integrated into the building.
Will the 4-story building all be 1 units?
No, there's 6 or 8 there's a small number of 2-bedroom units in that building.
So that might be a more if there were a need, if there were a desire for supportive housing.
I can imagine a scenario where somebody at the state's fair housing office says we want a couple of the 2-bedrooms in the townhomes. But again, these are highly regulated, topics.
Another, and I guess my last question, but it's another sort of connectivity related question. Obviously, the Highland Crossing Trail runs in close proximity to this project. Can you describe any impacts that this project will have on the trail and on the use of the trail, or any engagement in the ongoing maintenance of the trail? And then a related question, and following on to a question that Christine asked about the visibility of the ground-mounted solar. Will those ground-mounted solar units be visible from the Highland Crossing Trail?
I'll try to point to it on the map. So the ground-mounted solar is here. And
the podium is right in the way.
So the ground-mounted solar is here.
Yep.
The trail is here. So clearly,
okay. All right.
It's pretty far away. I don't want to say you couldn't see it, but it's pretty darn far away, hundreds and hundreds of feet.
So all of the ground-mounted will be in the southwestern corner
Yeah,
of the
basically
parcel.
between the apartment building and Science Parkway, right? It's a pretty innocuous position. Again, that is a topic I'm sure the planning board will be talking to us about.
Yeah, I think that covers all of my questions. Thank you. Cindy, if you could come up to the podium so we all can, particularly folks at home, can hear your question.
I was just curious, it's ADA, so would there be elevators? Okay, I thought so.
Yeah, a four-story building will be required. We'll have an elevator. It'll be ADX. We'll have certain percentage, 5%, 5% of the units will be fully ADA accessible. All the units will be visitable in the apartment building, and many will be adaptable. There's also some that are available for the visually impaired.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Any board members or anyone in the public have any more questions, comments? We've had 2 public hearings. John, from your perspective, is there any need to, I know we're going to be working based on what we've heard, and based on staff's review, we're going to be looking at potential conditions that will be a part of the resolution, the incentive zoning and rezoning resolution that the board will ultimately be asked to consider. Based on the numbers, we don't have a lot of input tonight. I think if board members have asked questions that they have, obviously, there will be continued opportunity for staff to engage input, but my inclination is to close the hearing tonight unless you see a reason not to.
I don't see a reason, Supervisor, to keep it open. The last piece of information that I was waiting for was from the City of Rochester, confirming that they are not reopening the seeker process and standing behind their negative declaration. We received that correspondence, and that is part of the agenda packet tonight. So I believe we received all the documentation from my perspective.
Good. Then I'll ask one more time. Is there anyone else that would like to comment on this proposal? Hearing none, I declare the public hearing to be closed on the incentive zoning and rezoning application of home leasing. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Everybody who came in tonight.
Continuing to work with the town and the staff to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Betsy.
I'm just going to wait here for a moment.
We're all set, Supervisor. Thank you.
Thank you. Then our next public hearing concerns the proposed, okay, no problem. Concerns the proposed order directing the owner of property located at 185 Kimbark Road to demolish the structure on that site pursuant to Chapter 51 of the Brighton Town Code, which is entitled Unsafe Buildings. Again, this is a matter in which a public hearing was convened at our last meeting and then tabled. Before I ask for a motion to take it off the table, again, I think it's important for everybody here tonight, particularly those that may not have been here at the last meeting or may not have watched the last meeting. I want to talk just a little bit about Chapter 51. Chapter 51 is chapter of the town code that gives the town the professional staff of the town the opportunity to determine that a structure is unsafe. Not simply deteriorated, not simply unattractive, not simply well-maintained, but unsafe. Our code enforcement staff has made that determination with respect to this property, and that determination is what brings Chapter 51 into play. The theme, and this is not something that happens very often. When it does, our goal is always that the owner of property have the opportunity to bring their property back into compliance, and certainly at least into safe conditions, but into compliance under the code. Or to do the demolition, if that's not feasible, to do the demolition themselves so that they can control that process. There are a number of ways we do that. This public hearing process has involved lots of notice and attempts at notice, trying to identify who the actual property owner and who has the right and interest to represent an entity named as the owner. But even if, once we get through that process, and even if there is a public hearing, and even if the town board were to take action directing that based on the fact that the property is unsafe, that it should be demolished, at that point, that starts a 30-day clock, and the owner has 30 days to demolish or to fix the property themselves. Then and only then does the town begin another process that does take some more time. This is not a quick thing. We would then have to follow procedure for getting soliciting bids to do the demolition work. More time, more opportunity for the owner of the property. So that's where we're at tonight. I know there were some issues raised about identifying the owner of the property. We had a gentleman here last time, and I see you're here again, and I'm glad. Because that is our goal, is to engage that communication. Because you raised concerns about whether you had been notified, I'm going to ask the board tonight to take action to restart that clock one more time, to further notice and identify who not only the corporate name, but who has the right to act on behalf of that corporation. So these are complicated, they're lengthy procedures, but they're important procedures because it's a serious thing that we are considering. So with all of that, I would like, again, Christine, if you would move to take this hearing off the table and reopen it for public hearing.
Yes, I move
Public
that
input.
we remove the public hearing on the demolition of 185 Kimbark Road from the table and reopen the public hearing.
Can I have a second?
Second. Second.
You? The motion having been, Peggy, please call the roll.
Councilmember Warner.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt.
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado.
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman.
Aye.
Supervisor Mailey.
Aye. Motion to take this matter off the table having passed. I declare the public hearing to be open. John or Jim, is there anything you want to say before we open it up to public input? Okay.
No, Supervisor.
Then is there anyone here who would like to address the board during this public hearing? Please come forward. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Dustin Long. I live at 185 Kimbark. I'm not worried about anyone stealing my identity from that information. It is public. In any case, I was, for the first time tonight, seeing the actual letters as they were posted online. Last time I had the opportunity to speak with, is it Chief? I don't want
Cathaldi.
That's right. Cathaldi. Thank you. Chief Cathaldi took down my information, promised me that within a day or so I'd hear from somebody. 2 weeks have gone by, I haven't heard from anybody. Still locked out of my house. It's the town. It's pretty insane that my house is further deteriorating. I did notice that the pictures that were submitted. I remember last time we were here. My apologies. Let me rewind. The last time we were here, Mr. Maley, you said that it's not only the exterior look of the house, but it's something to do with the interior structure that would make the house unsafe. Right in the report dated January 16th, 2024, this report is from, may I get this correct, from Ed Sherrill, the building inspector. It starts off, "Dear Commissioner Garcia, I conducted a site visit of the home at the above referenced address to assess the condition of the structure. This assessment was limited to the exterior of the building." He says, right, first and foremost, he never made a further inquiry into the inside, the condition, anything of the sort, that it was just an exterior assessment that led to him wanting to rip my house down. It goes on further to say that it has been vacant and unoccupied for a number of years. That is just absolutely incorrect. It was not possible to access the home and assess any interior damage. The home is currently dilapidated condition, unsafe to the general public, and unfit for the purpose which it may be lawfully used. I had been using it till I was locked out of it and boarded out of it. The pictures that are included additionally shows a back house. I mean, this is all in the record there, but it's clearly a fenced-off area. Out front, I have signs that are clearly right in the windows, "No trespassing, don't come on my property." And further pictures of where not only the front signs were ignored, but a gate and a fenced-in area were accessed to come take a picture of my back door. There has been a little bit of leaking from the roof coming in. I literally ripped it off while I was having heart attacks on the roof. Subsequently, I went into the hospital, and they gave me two options: either operate in 5 hours or die. So I picked, let's go to operation. So we did that. But I had left the back door open as there was some water in there, and I'd like to air it out. If you take a place that has water, you seal it off, it's going to do nothing but grow mold. So I can only imagine the condition of the inside of my house now that it has been sealed off without my permission or knowledge. In addition, there's a picture that shows an open window. I did that for cross ventilation, so there was one open window in the back door to kind of cut the air through the house and make sure that there was a steady flow so that mold didn't grow. Yeah, and there is some debris in the yard. Once I tore off the roof, I really didn't have an option. It was either leave it there and die, die or leave it there and have the surgery. Apart from that, anything, they said there's an abandoned hot tub. Yes, my former tenant did put that there. It is certainly heavier than I can do anything about at this time myself. Along with the spirit of cooperation with the town, if there's any assistance I could have in removing some of that, it would be certainly helpful. I am limited to lifting 30 pounds at a time by my doctor. I typically don't move anything of heavy nature. If I do, I need hours of rest. I used to have highways feeding my heart, and I won't show you, but they harvested from my leg, and now I have walkways feeding my heart. So the amount of oxygen I can get is just severely limited. While the record might not show that I am permanently disabled, I'm still working on that with my doctors. It has been just over a year. To kind of lighten the mood, this happened on April 1st of last year, so I begged my doctor to say he was giving me a good old April Fool's joke, but he was not. But apart from that, I think that the board should vote no or just take the matter off altogether. It's a huge stressor on me to have to come here now twice in a row, to sit for 2 hours listening to people wish for an amenity when I don't have basic living conditions because of the town. So based on what you have in record, you yourself stating, Supervisor, that the house is of unsafe condition. The report itself says it was just a visual observation from the outside. I don't think that given that information that is in the file, that anything should move forward. If there was a building inspection done to the extent where it was found to be structurally unsound, that'd be a different story. There's no such report here. And at this point, I don't know the condition of the inside of the property because I guess the other one, June 25th, there was the request by Mr. Sprague here to board up the town, I guess because the Brighton Fire Department. The interesting thing is I can't find anywhere who initiated this whole process, why people were brought to my house. Referring back to the other January 16th document, it says that there was an assessment done on December 28th. So while I was watching my kids between Christmas and New Year's and was not at home with them because of its condition. I'm not saying that it's a perfect house by any means. I'm just saying it's nowhere near needing to be torn down. I do have credentials. While my physical ability lacks, my mental acuity is still quite sharp. I'm still able to know what to do to the property to fix up the few things I need. I have been offered I won't say how much, but a 6-figure offer to take the property as it stands. So to tear it down would be just insane. There's people out there, I've had a few offers, and people want to buy it as is, fix it up. So that's a potential as well. But to keep having to come back here, having not ever even been contacted since the last meeting at all by anybody in any fashion, not being able to even get in the house. There is a piece of the roof that has come loose. The roofing that is on there, according to that second report, is not adequate. It is adequate according to the manufacturer's specifications. It is an underlayment. In fact, the first 6 feet of it is an ice and water shield that is akin to a impermeable rubber layer that is guaranteed for forever by the manufacturer. The upper part, the synthetic underlayment, some of it has come off. I would love to jump up there and staple it back down to keep the rain from coming in my house. But as you would guess, my ladder and my stapler are in the property that I'm locked out of. I guess my questions then only would be to finish is how did this come about? Why is there even this hearing in place when it's supposed to be based on the integrity of the structure? Yet the evidence presented is just saying that, well, we looked at the outside while we were trespassing without the owner's permission, and we want to tear it down. So how did it get to this point? Thank you.
Thank you. I know Mr. Mancuso, you...
Mr. Long, can I ask you just a couple of questions, just to address a few things that you had mentioned during your statement? Let me start out by just asking a contact information question. I know at the last public hearing you had provided some information to the chief of police, which had been passed along to the commissioner of DPW. I was copied on an email that was sent to you on August 19th from the commissioner with respect to making inquiry on your proof of ownership of the property. I just want to verify the email address that you had given the chief, BOTTICELLIHC@gmail.com.
Yes.
Okay.
I must have missed that. I'm getting terrible reception here. I look for it at the moment. But apart from that, we can continue.
So the town did make an attempt to reach out to you, and so the threshold question that the town had been asking about was to try to establish and confirm proof of ownership of the parcel. So while you have obviously appeared to represent yourself as the owner, the tax records that we show and the public record in the clerk's office shows a TJK Industries Incorporated as the owner of the property.
Correct.
Can you explain what your relationship is to that entity?
Yes, TJK were the initials of my business partner, who several years ago decided to clear our joint account of over $38,000. And when I reported it to the Brighton police, I was told, well, his name's on the account, so we're not going to do anything about it. Even though I explained that it was very clear in the bylaws of our entity that owns it that it's to be used for purposes of the property, and I had $38,000 of expenditures that I could show that he spent on fast food, video games, biker leather, parts for his car, bought a truck without my knowledge, and other things that I showed that clearly were not business expenses, yet nothing were done to him. I made a deal with Thomas Keenan at that time that he would, in lieu of my pursuing further prosecution or other ways to be indemnified from such, that he would in fact sign over the LLC to myself, which he did.
Okay, so so it's a corporation, so you are effectively the shareholder,
Sole owner,
the sole shareholder of that corporation. Do you have any documents or anything that you could provide the town to just confirm that you are speaking on behalf of and have authorization to act on behalf of the entity, so we know we're dealing with the right person?
I would love to be able to show it to you. I do essentially have it. I'll tell you, we'll open up a little bit more about my life. Following my heart surgery, my wife, that was accustomed to me doting upon her, decided that I was worthless. And after 10 months of, I purchased her a vehicle right after her father died. It was her father's vehicle for $35,000. I said to her, honey, that $35,000 is supposed to go towards fixing up 185 Kimbar. Can I please get a receipt? She said no and left the house for 2 weeks, wouldn't tell me where she was, what she was doing. After 10 months of her refusing to write the receipt for me and for me to try to better this property, to better my life and continue on, I said to her, or it was alleged that I said to her, you know, I wished I could just burn the truck. Not threatening to burn the vehicle, just saying I wish that the problem that existed in our marriage didn't exist. She has since got an order of protection on me, and I'm not allowed to go to the house to get those documents to show you.
So the documents are in the Kimbark property?
No, they are located in my wife's house.
Okay. So where are you currently, are you currently residing somewhere other than 185 Kimbark?
No, I'm still there. I had a nice 6-person tent in the side yard. It's good with just me. I have room for 5 other people I can, move around.
So you're occupying the property presently?
Absolutely.
Even though it's been boarded up?
I'm not inside the boarding. I'm in the
You're just
yard.
on the physical property?
Yes.
Okay. You're getting mail still at 185 Kimbark?
Yes.
Is that the address by which your expectation is that we should be sending all the mailings to, and are you getting anything that's being delivered there from the town? Because over the last year, several things have been mailed there, so I just want to make sure that's your mailing address for anything that the town needs to send.
The only thing that I've gotten was the actual notice that said that your house is going to be torn down with the date of 2 weeks ago's meeting. I've never received anything in the actual mailbox.
I don't want to ask it during the meeting, but would you be amenable to speaking with the chief of police after we adjourn this hearing to provide any contact information and an address for your, I think you said ex-wife, but where that information is located? Because the difficulty with the town is that we need to make sure that we're actually speaking with the person with authorization to, act on behalf of this corporation. And so if you have anything you could show us, that has your name associated with this property, the best piece of evidence obviously would be what Mr. Keenan had given you. That would be sufficient for our purposes so that we can interact with each other moving forward to address the issues associated with the property. Because, we can re-forward the email that the commissioner had sent to you, but essentially, in sum and substance, he was making that inquiry because the town is looking to develop a plan with you or whoever has authority to be able to bring the property into compliance, which is what the supervisor had indicated.
Yes.
For my purposes now, I believe I've asked the questions that I need to ask, but if you could speak to the chief and maybe provide that contact information and address, that would be helpful.
So I won't be doing that only because I am not allowed any third-party contact, and I'm deathly afraid of breaking any rules. I had the fortune to get divorced in Brighton 10 years ago. That wife left her car on my property, and it resulted in a lot of time of me coming to court, me going into the Brighton Police Department where the chief asked me, it might not have been yourself, I can't remember who it was, but I caught my brother-in-law molesting my daughter. And when I turned it in, he said, well, what kind of pleasure could she have gotten from that? That was the response I got when I turned him in. So, when it comes to legal issues, I make a frustrated expression after 10 months of giving my all to someone, and it essentially throws me out and is causing all this trouble for me, and I'm not even allowed to to talk or send anybody. I mean, I can certainly give you the address. I will put it on the record right now. I'm not instructing you in any way, shape, or form to contact her.
No, and I'm not asking for that instruction, and we're not taking it as such. It's just really the town trying to get contact information and property information so we can just make sure from our perspective when we're applying our code that we are engaged with the right individuals. So if you're willing to share that information with the chief, that's as far as we really need you to take it.
I can't promise her cooperation, but what I can offer in lieu of that is that the mortgage that's filed with Monroe County lists me at that time as a 50% owner.
So I don't have any additional questions, Supervisor, at this point. I can turn it back over to you to continue the public hearing for anybody else that may wish to speak on the matter, and we can also discuss then the resolution that is before the board.
Okay. I mean, again, I want it to be absolutely clear that what you're proposing is that the police chief of the town of Brighton would talk with you and get that information and engage in whatever way is necessary to make sure that there is no violation of any court order that applies to you. But based on what I've heard, we don't, at this point, I have not seen anything that I can rely on that tells me that you have the authority to act on behalf of this corporation. And that's all we're looking to get, some kind of records, whether it's this agreement that your former partner and you have or corporate resolutions. But if all of that is at another location, we're trying to take the burden off of you, and I understand fully why you don't want to or can't engage with that other location. Consistent with what we are trying to do to find a way to remedy, to work with you, to have you remedy, or as you said, potentially a prospective buyer remedy this situation. Talking offline with the chief, it will not be a part of the public record of this hearing. The chief isn't going to tell me the address or the contact information, but he will engage to do whatever he can to help you to get the information we need to determine the legal rights that you have with respect to that corporation and therefore to the house.
So just my follow-up question to that would be then, does where it say in the mortgage that I am 50% holder of the LLC, does that not qualify?
No.
Okay.
I don't believe it does.
No.
Okay. Okay.
Is there anyone else? Mr. Tentenoff? Again, I would note that it's important that your commentary here tonight be relevant to this public hearing. Go ahead, Mr. Alexei Tentenoff.
I'm confused. Why can't you just print out the letter and hand it to them? If there's, do you guys not have a printer here? Is there, do you guys?
If the chief would like, I mean, I'm certain we could do that.
I mean, it's like the level of either weaponized incompetence or corruption or I get that you don't care about this guy's house. Whether the town tears it down or not, you don't care. It's clear that I'm going to follow these things that Bill had put in, these lines, and then I'm covered. I can't be sued for this weaponized incompetence. You're stealing somebody's house. You're stealing their property. You're trying to tear it down. That's just wrong. Theft by government criminals is just wrong. If there are deficits on the property, why don't you list them out so that they can be addressed and corrected to the satisfaction of the town? And I personally am happy to help the guy correct whatever needs to be corrected. I'll spend my nights and weekends helping him out because this is just wrong that a town will take somebody's property and you won't even do the due diligence of going to visit the property, speak to them, hand them the right paperwork at the right time. The attitude that I get, it's like, oh, it's not my problem. I passed it off to this guy who passed it off to this guy. It's like you're intentionally playing a game of telephone with somebody else's private property. It's not yours. Don't treat it like it's yours. It's this guy's property. Stop trying to tear it down or steal it. Say, hey, there's an issue that we see that's health or safety or whatever. List it out. And why don't you, instead of threatening the guy, say, we'll look for some volunteers to help the guy fix the property. I'm happy to help. So I'll get with the guy afterwards, hopefully he'll come back, and I'll help him address whatever these issues are so that he can keep his property. It's just wrong. It's just the general attitude and then the lack of due diligence to do the right steps along the way.
Thank you, Mr. Tetnoff. Is there anyone else that would like to address the board? I know Mr. Long is outside. I don't want to close the public hearing without making sure Mr. Long doesn't have the opportunity to put something else on the record. And again, for the record, the action that we are going to be asking the board to take is to renotice based on, we now have, Mr. Long's statement that he is living on the property in a tent. We will follow what the code requires in terms of making sure that notice is given. And we will continue this process to give him additional time, whether through whatever approach he chooses to take. But I want to make sure Mr. Long is in the room, so we make sure he has the opportunity to speak tonight. But the public hearing, if the board takes action on the resolution that is before it, will continue at, I believe, the September 25th. Is that the right?
That is correct,
September
Supervisor.
25th meeting of the town board. But Mr. Long, I don't want to interrupt your conversation with the chief. Is there, you may not have heard what I was describing there, but if there's anything else you want to say for the record tonight, but our plan is, and it's helpful to know that you're living in a tent at that property. Our intent is to continue the public hearing, essentially to restart this clock to give additional time for you to develop this information and make whatever repairs it can be made, or whatever process you believe best represents whatever ownership interest you have in the property. So if you'd like to say something more, and then we'll take action, and that action will only be that we will continue the hearing, not at our next meeting, but at the meeting on September 25th.
Okay, I would just request a very specific list of what you all would like to be done at the property. Any information possibly pertaining to any town or county grants or something like that. My heart attack or my surgery cost $158,000, which drained every cent I had. So I had to trade my entire life for my life, which was, I'm still here, which is a blessing from God, but it could be different if I wouldn't have all the stressors and everything going on had that not happened. But Apart from that, I have given the information of my wife as well as my phone number. Again, you did read the email correctly. And I would just say you are all welcome to come over for s'mores. Just bring a pack of shingles with you. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Long. Is there any further comment on the record for the public hearing? Hearing none, I declare this public hearing to be closed, and I will ask Councilmember Corrado, well, let's make the motion, and then we can have any discussion.
Sure. I move that we renotice the potential demolition of 185 Kimbark Road per Chapter 51 of the Town Code, and set a public hearing for September 25th at 7 p.m.
All pursuant to the resolution prepared by the attorney for the town.
Indeed.
Thank you, Supervisor.
Thank you, Robin. Any further discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, Peggy, please call the roll.
Councilmember Warner.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt.
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado.
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman.
Aye.
Supervisor Mailey.
Aye. Committee reports, community services. Robin.
Thank you, Bill. The Community Services Committee met last Wednesday, August 21st. Among the items we discussed was a robust discussion during open forum. Former council member Louise Novros and Lisa Feibush were in attendance to discuss concerns related to the town of Brighton pool. All feedback and options are being reviewed and discussed as we move forward. Under items of continuing business, park issues. Summer seasonal laborers have concluded their shifts for the year. This is the first season in a long time we were able to have all seasonal positions filled. This is due to a more competitive pay rate. The extra hands have been a huge help to meet park maintenance demands. Playground installation at Brighton Town Park was completed at the end of July, and the town was able to realize considerable savings through an installation oversight agreement with the equipment manufacturer. We hope to continue that partnership in the future. Town Hall Playground is next on the schedule to be replaced based on longevity. We will be redesigning the playground with accessibility as a priority, as a Sway Fun glider is already a feature component of the playground. As such, the Parks Department is in discussion with potential partners and considering design elements that are zero entry as well as a rubberized surface. With summer concluding and recent bouts of stormy weather, the labor focus has shifted to trail maintenance for the Parks Department. Fall sport athletic field requests have also been coming up in a pace, and park staff are mindful of the upcoming space allocation needs of all program participants. And incidentally, the spring season involved 1,700 to 1,800 youth participating in programming through the Parks and Recreation departments, demonstrating the sheer vastness of the scope and impact of these departments on our community recreation offerings. Yes, 1,700 to 1,800 youths participating. So
It's individual people,
yes.
not, yes.
Oh, yes,
individual,
yes. I'm
different
sorry,
youths.
individual
No, that's-
participation.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's incredible.
Yes, it is.
Quite a service to the community. So then continuing on to recreation programs, summer camps, concerts, et cetera, have concluded, and the Brighton Town Pool is closed for the summer. End of summer camps where programming is less tied to a given facility, but rather participants and staff engage in community programming that's offered are very popular, and they've been going really well. I think we had a youth who was participating in that program here tonight, and they were very complimentary of that. Upcoming after-school program is at capacity at both locations with only a few openings on Friday, again reflecting the high demand for flexible and affordable quality childcare in the region. Fall planning for recreation programming is underway. Registration begins on Tuesday, September 4th for residents and on September 10th for non-residents. The Brighton Community Bike Rides have been very well received. The second ride had 39 participants, and the third and final ride for the year is scheduled for Friday, September 13th, and is being sponsored by Women Tours, Inc. So thank you so much for that sponsorship. Emily Kelsey, the Brighton Senior Citizen Supervisor, will be leaving the department mid-October. The search for her replacement is well underway, and we've received a number of qualified applicants. We hope to have her replacement in place prior to her leaving to allow for sufficient overlap and training of the new staff member. An update to our Winter's Farmers Market. We continue to explore creative uses for the space. Lifespan Fall Prevention Community event is on September 19th, and punch list items are complete for the last phase of the construction of that site. An update to our Inclusion, Diversity, and Equity Advisory Board. The committee met last week and is working on Hispanic Heritage Month programming and the Town Talk series, which is to resume this fall. The committee will also likely be assisting with Hispanic Heritage Month awareness celebrations at the market on September 15th. And we also had a discussion and review of our Pride activities, which were very well received and had great participation. Thank you again to the community for your participation. An update to our Clean Energy Community Priority Actions and Sustainability grant funding. The CEC grant was approved by the town board at our August 14th meeting. Pricing has come in on the potential solar panel portion for the town hall renovation project. And there was some discussion of feedback regarding the Brighton Town Hall renovation project and parking needs, and the Sustainability Oversight Committee recommendation for sidewalk connection of Sylvan to pedestrian sidewalks. We had a brief update to our Pollinator Pathway Challenge. Applications continue to come in. There was a discussion of the format of the application as to whether it's accessible for lay participants. And we also had the news delivered that the current caretaker of the pollinator garden at the Meridian Center Park will no longer be able to care for it, and the Parks Department will continue with the care, hoping to have a volunteer step up to assist with planting, maintenance, oversight, etc. An update to our Town of Brighton annual Clean Sweep and Recycling events. Our legacy vendors have committed to the next event on Sunday, October 27th for our semi-annual shredding and recycling events. There was also a discussion of truck capacity and temporary storage bin quantities.
Sure was.
Provided for the shredding portion of the event, and whether our current vendor is meeting those requirements, which they are currently not. We have, on the other hand, we've had no problem with the E-Waste Plus vendor, who will return again for our fall program. Then we had a brief discussion of the community lunch portion of Clean Sweep and a shift towards people not necessarily staying and eating at the French Road Elementary School after cleanup portion of the event, and our desire is to rebuild that portion of the event. An update to our council member on your corner events over the summer. The last council member on your corner of the season will be on Sunday, September 15th, in conjunction with the IDEA Board Visibility and Hispanic Heritage Month programming. The events have been very successful this summer, and the market continues to grow more vibrant and engage more members of the community, including cultural elements to the celebrations at the market. Has been a great addition, and we continue to build our connections across the broader community. And then I'll just do a brief run through of upcoming events. Our next community bike ride, as I noted, will be Friday, September 13th at 6:45 p.m. It is free, but registration is required. You can register at www.townofbrighton.org/rec. Our Halloween trunk or treat event will occur on Saturday, October 19th from 10 to 11:30 a.m. at the Brighton Town Hall Public Safety Wing. That's 2300 Elmwood Avenue. And then we will have sensory-friendly trick-or-treating at the Brighton Town Hall main floor offices. Again, 2300 Elmwood Avenue on Friday, October 25th. Time to be determined. And then our Drug Enforcement Agency a semi-annual pharmaceutical take-back event will occur at the Brighton Town Hall Public Safety Wing on Saturday, October 26th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And finally, again, our semi-annual electronics recycling and secure document shredding event will take place at the Brighton Highway Department. That's 1941 Elmwood Avenue on Sunday, October 27th from 9 a.m. to 12 noon. The next meeting of the Community Services Committee will be on Wednesday, September 18th at 9:30 a.m. or immediately following our Finance and Administrative Services Committee meeting at the Brighton Recreation Center. And we, as usual, the members of the public are invited to attend.
Thank you, Robin. Finance, Nate.
Thanks, Bill. The Finance and Administrative Services Committee last met on Tuesday, August 21st. Most of the agenda is actually on tonight's agenda, so I won't spend too much time talking about it. I will highlight that we talked about setting 2 public hearings for the purposes of allowing the community input regarding the 2025 town and special district budgets, charges, and assessment rules. And we also are referring to tonight's meeting to set a public hearing for the purpose of authorizing the town board to discuss exceeding the tax levy limit. Those are my updates. Everything else is on tonight's agenda.
Thank you, Nate. Public safety, Chris.
Thanks, Bill. I reported on our August Public Safety Committee meeting at our last town board meeting. Our next Public Safety Committee meeting will be September 10th at 8 o'clock in the auditorium here, and the public is invited.
Thank you. Christine, Public Works.
I'd like to say ditto. Keep us moving along. Next Public Works Committee meeting will be on the 10th at 9 a.m. immediately following public safety.
Thank you. Moving on then to new business, Nate, reading and approval of claims.
Yep. Earlier today, I reviewed claims totaling $968,914.88. One notable claim includes another payment for the general contracting services of Phase 3 of our award-winning Brighton Farmers Market, $105,263.15. The claims all appear to be in order, and I move for them to be approved.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none. Peggy, please call the roll.
Councilmember Warner.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt.
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado.
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman.
Aye.
Supervisor Mailey.
Aye. Christine.
Yes, the next matter seeks to approve a budget transfer of $335 from the Office of the Town Clerk membership and training account to the office furniture account for the modifications to payment drop boxes. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
Any discussion? This relates to the move and the accessibility of the current location of the drop box after construction begins, so we need a new location, and we have one.
And I think we should note, too, that these are secure drop boxes.
Yes.
They don't permit
Right, well, that's it. That's part of the cost of this is to make it more secure.
Anti-phishing attachment.
So we have a motion seconded. Hearing no further comment, Peggy, please call the roll.
Councilmember Warner.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt.
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado.
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman.
Aye.
Supervisor Mailey.
Aye. Christine, why don't you do the next one, too?
Yes, I'm very happy to move that we accept a donation from Jackie Marchand, owner of Woman Tours, Inc., to fund the Brighton Recreation September Community Bike Ride in an amount totaling $280 per the resolution before us.
Second.
Thank you, Jackie. Discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Warner.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt.
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Mailey?
Aye. Nate?
Yep. The next matter seeks to set 2 public hearings for the proposed 2025 Town and Special District budgets, charges, and assessment rules. I move that we approve this matter as prepared by the attorney to the town. Hey, that sounds familiar.
Second.
Yes, these, we say this every year. The law requires us to hold 1 public hearing. We hold 2. We hold workshops. We review the budget within the Finance Committee. We go above and beyond not only what the law requires, but what any other community in town does in terms of making sure our budget process is transparent. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Peggy, please call the roll.
Councilmember Warner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Mailey?
Aye. Robin, the next one, please.
Certainly. The next matter seeks to set a public hearing for authorization to adopt a budget commencing January 1st, 2025 that may exceed the tax cap. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
This is a local law that we may or may not need, but as a precaution, we set the public hearing depending on how the budget numbers come in.
It would be, the hearing would be October 9th, is that correct?
That is
Yes.
correct.
I'm sorry.
Thanks, Chris. Hearing nothing further, Peggy, please call the roll.
Councilmember Warner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Mailey?
Aye. And Chris, the last one.
The next item is to authorize the supervisor to enter into an agreement with Spring Sheet Metal for the installation of new metal roofs for the Town Hall Pool Building and the Meridian Center Building in an amount not to exceed $26,015, and authorize the Finance Department to make any necessary budget amendments for that project. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
And this is a follow-on to action that we took at our last meeting. This, the roof repairs are needed in their own right, but they will also enable us to put solar arrays up there on those locations, further advancing our sustainability objectives and further qualifying us for additional grant money through the Clean Energy Community Program that we've already been successful in getting funding for. So we're leveraging these projects to do it again. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Peggy, please call the roll.
Councilmember Warner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Mailey?
Aye. Matters of the town attorney, I know we're going to ask for executive session at the end. Any other?
No other business. The only executive session items are 2 matters to discuss the employment of particular persons and 1 matter of pending litigation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Matters of the clerk.
We are getting ready to begin collecting school taxes, September 1st. And as you mentioned, our drop box has been relocated to the front of the building, next to door number 2, which is the entrance, the front entrance to the public safety wing.
Great. That's a convenience that a lot of people use.
It is.
Good. Matters of the board. Then can I have a motion to go into executive session to discuss the employment of particular people and a pending property tax cert litigation matter?
Bill, I move that we go into executive session to discuss the employment of particular people or person, and to discuss persons, and also to discuss pending litigation.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none. Peggy, please call the roll.
Councilmember Warner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Mailey?
Aye. Again, thank you, everybody. Those of you that stuck with us tonight, I do not anticipate that we will be coming back into open session after the executive session. The next meeting of the Brighton Town Board will be on Wednesday, September 11th, right here at 7 p.m. Have a good night, everybody.